idea, the idea of progress, which I'm very suspicious of. I'm quite a closet Luddite. I'm really suspicious of this idea that we've sort of fed all the time, that the latest thing, the newest thing is the best thing. And I keep going back to these old, obscure things, which I think are really great, and better than any new thing that I can think of.
Aren't the new things just reinventions of the old ones? Or just
yes, they often are. They often are, but they're often a bit sort of paler and more watered down. I mean, but that's just a taste thing. That's just my taste at the end of the day. I like old hillbillies singing songs about running away from Satan chasing them through the woods and blah, 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 that sort of stuff. I like that stuff.
What about Robert Johnson blues type stuff along those
lines?
Look,
I'm all right with that sort of stuff, but for some reason, the hillbillies, possibly because we live in the hills, resonates with me quite a bit. Yeah, there's something about it. That, the good ones. I mean, you've got to sort through a lot of chaff to get the wheat.
What would you change then about contemporary music? Do you want for more?
Well, I won't name names, but somebody put on a record today in the van, and I was listening to it, and I was thinking, this is everything I hate about contemporary music. This record, like they need to fire the drummer. The drums sounded absolutely fucking horrible, and they need to write some songs. Like they had no songs. It was just this pointless warbling on about nothing for 45 minutes, and I thought, these people are just using up vital resources.
Is there anything you do like then?
Not that I'm a complete curmudgeon or anything. I mean, look, don't get that picture. No, there are some things I do like. Yes, yeah. We had IMX on today in the van. I like his stuff a lot, actually.
Okay.
He can write a good song, that guy, and I'm envious of his voice. Like he can sing. And hit all these notes and shit.
But you have such a cool, distinctive voice.
God, I hate the sound of my voice. And I was envious of his voice. I thought, oh boy, that guy can sing. Jesus. God.
Do you? Your stuff has resonated with me for a long time. Like when I was a kid working for a corporation, and I'm just a humble corporate slave.
Yeah.
That and Morrissey's, frankly, Mr. Shankly. those would just go through my head
I like Morrissey.
all the time.
I like Morrissey a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't pay any attention to Morrissey for years, and then I was somewhere and they had You Are the Quarry on, and I thought, this is a really good record. Wow.
And there's songwriting for you.
Absolute songwriting. And, somebody... Look, this is just my thing, But there's some conviction involved. There is conviction and there's ideas, and it's not just decorative. And decorative's okay. Decorative's okay in music and art. But for it to be interest to me, it has to be beautifully or darkly or something really profoundly decorative, not just sort of superficially decorative. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but that's what I think. And yeah, look, I like Morrissey because he has things to say and he has conviction and he has interests, and that's really apparent in his music. And I really like that. I also like the way that he pisses people off. I think that's really good. I tend to generally just pretty much agree with everything he says, but he also pisses people off, which I think is really good.
It's true. It incites a reaction. And
well, that's just people, yeah.
Have you mellowed as you've gotten older? Or have your views modified, do you think?
Look, I would hope that they have to some degree. There are certain fundamentals that I think are probably still there. I mean, it's a kind of a tricky. It's a balancing act. You don't want to bang on about the same old thing in the same old way all the time, but there are also certain core concerns, which certainly with me, I always sort of return to because I think they're important. So I do try and do a balancing act between not trying to just regurgitate the same old crap over and over and over again, though I have certain interests, and vanishing off into irrelevance. I don't know. What do I know? Nothing. I know nothing.
You know lots of stuff.
No. I know nothing. I'm just having a guess, fumbling along in the dark.
Will you be wearing your They Live mask this evening when you play?
You'll have to come along.
Oh, of course I'll be here. But I look at it and I think, does everyone who is paid admission, do they get complimentary glasses where they come in and they see you? And are we all enlightened because we're seeing you for,
well, we
what
hope
you're
so.
representing?
Yeah.
I would imagine most of your crowd is somewhat enlightened.
Yeah, who knows? But, obviously, I do love that film.
It's a great film.
Yeah, and it's not only is there like a kernel of truth to that film, but it's also highly entertaining and pretty damn funny.
One of the best fight scenes ever.
Unbelievable. First time I saw it, I fast forwarded it because I'm not really this wrestling person. I was watching it with a few friends and we're just going, how long are these guys like biffing around in the alley for? Jesus Christ, this goes forever. But I've learnt to appreciate it, having seen it again. Yeah.
I'll take a turn. Do you think this U.S. election will be the possible outcome of it, be the straw or the straw that breaks the camel's back, or the thing that brings the empire down?
You wouldn't be the first person to suggest that.
I'm just asking. I'm not.
No, I don't know. I don't know. It's such your elections, with all respect, your elections are such a bizarre carnival. It's hard, A, to take them seriously, but then B, well, you kind of should, because it's important to the whole planet in a fashion. But then on the other hand, the whole thing is kind of so sort of rigged and such a setup, that do you really engage with it? Is it just sport? Is it just a circus? I'm not exactly sure, and I don't want to insult anyone by being entirely dismissive of something that they think is important or whatever. But I do actually strongly feel that the whole thing is pretty much basically rigged. And my view, maybe history will prove me wrong, my view is that the whole thing has been set up for Hillary Clinton to be anointed as your next president. I would gladly be wrong, because I think that would be the worst option, believe it or not. I think that would be the worst option.
Interesting, although that's a theory that's bubbling under the surface there.
That's my theory. I think that would be the worst option. It's just my view, no disrespect, but she appears to be so incredibly, history has shown her to be so incredibly corrupt and such a warmonger that it would not be a good turn of events, I don't think. Just my view.
Okay.
I was actually appalled, I have to say. I was appalled when I read, I don't watch the television or any of these things, but I did read when Gaddafi of Libya was ousted and then subsequently murdered, how she responded to that. I don't know if you recall how she responded to that.
I don't.
She said, I read the thing, she said, she apparently laughed, then she said, we came, we saw, and he died, and then she laughed again. And I went, you're a psychopath. Wow. Gee. Really gloating over someone's brutal murder like that. Yeah. Anyway, should I stop there?
No,
have I got on for
can.
Have I got on for far too long? Look. Sorry, should I be ejected from the building now? It's fine.
I don't even have 10 minutes on here. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, sorry. If you need me to shut up, just say, "Shut up."
No. Why would I do
fine.
that? We could sit here all night.
It's fine.
We could sit here all night.
Yeah.
I always equated you, or I guess when I came to know you, which was pretty early on when Snog came along, with Max Berry and South Park. It was like Max Berry, David Thrussell, and South Park. These are all really important things that are telling us something.
Forgive my ignorance. I don't even know who Max Berry is. Who is
He's
that?
an Australian author too.
I know nothing about anything.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'm a hillbilly. I know nothing about anything.
Oh.
Tell me more about this Max Berry.
He's really wonderful. He Jennifer Government. Gosh, I can't think of other books now that he's written, but really just a wonderful writer and similar views, at least, to what
I never heard of Max.
Well, check him out.
Sorry, Max.
Okay. Well,
I know nothing.
That's
I'm verging on a caveman.
That's okay.
And honestly, I've
Are you
seen
a reader?
I've seen one episode of South Park. That's it.
Well, so much for that line of questioning. Huh?
I'm a bit disengaged from a lot of these things.
Do you read, or do you read blogs, or do you?
I like books. Yes, I read books, and I listen to music, and we're out in the countryside, and I'm not really very connected to popular culture, to be honest with you, and that is largely through choice. And also because I wouldn't know what to do anyway. So, yeah.
Okay. So there's thoughts that, depending, I'm going to go back to the election, even though my editor said to stay clear of politics. So
cool.
Whatever. Right? The revolution, possibly. Revolutions take years for people
Well, this is another thing I think, okay?
Yes.
This is a theory I've developed on my own, I believe. I think, because, I have quite a few friends who identify themselves as progressives and whatever and blah, blah, and they're very concerned about Donald Trump, right? And the honest truth is I haven't really followed Donald Trump or these things that closely. The little bit that I've read about Trump, and I don't really know much about him at all, I find him pretty amusing. Like comes across as a bit of a buffoon and whatever, and quite entertaining. And so I've been thinking, and saying to a few people, if Trump wins, and I think that's almost entirely impossible, I think it's completely rigged against him, he's just there for entertainment. But if he does, it would be incredibly funny for a week. We would have a lot of laughs, and then we'd probably all be dead.
Okay.
So,
All right.
As opposed to Hillary, we'd probably have 6 months of really boring crap, and then we'd all be dead.
Which could spur a revolution, though. And this
I don't know. She's such an insider. She's such an establishmentarianism person.
Do you think it's not possible? Do you think all these little segments are too fragmented? Like the anti-establishment people and the people who equal rights for women, and the
look, sure, but one of the problems is there's so much the depth of dishonesty about all these things is so deep, and it's so. As a population, we're so misdirected, I feel. The fact that, I'm just going to say it, the fact that Hillary Clinton can be held up as any kind of progressive or humanitarian or any of those labels you might want to apply to somebody is really laughable, as a situation. That's purely marketing. It's got nothing to do with her record as a politician whatsoever. I think that's just marketing, that's just positioning, that's just massaging information, blah blah blah. So, and that, of course, that happens throughout the whole process. So there is almost nothing really you can believe in that entire process, And I do feel like the whole thing is completely rigged, and that it's just there to provide the illusion. It's not even a very convincing illusion, I don't think, but the illusion of democracy, because I don't think there is any kind of functioning democracy actually happening at all. It's simply a whole lot of money vomited to give the illusion of a democracy so that business can go on as usual, or possibly even worse than usual. There you go. That's my spiel.
And so
now you can punch me. I'm here.
Never. So while we're all preoccupied liking pictures on Facebook and
you got it.
sharing our little memes and things, so what do we do? What do people who don't have, let's say, art in them, or where you can express yourself and express these opinions and
sure.
and inspire people? And so what does the common man do?
I don't have any really concrete, great, fantastic answers that would fix everything, and I apologise for that. I don't have them. My personal inclination is, it's just my personal inclination, but I think if we just started to disengage and really not engage with all that bullshit, because it's all just bullshit, if vast swathes of people either entirely rejected it or simply disengaged from that whole thing, I think that would be the beginning of something.
I concur, but I do it. I'm somebody who I feel like,
Sure.
is of that mindset, but I still post to Facebook. I post pictures. You
Sure.
post pictures of your trip here in the U.S. While we're so we say that and we can talk about it and have good intentions, but we're still. I mean, we might not be voluntarily chipping ourselves like some people. And I mean, I've always said that this is I mean, we all have cell phones now, and that we can be
I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
No. Really?
I don't.
But people around you do, right? And you have...
Yes, but I don't have one. No.
Oh,
No.
impressive.
I really don't actually... I really barely know how to use one.
Okay. Everyone but you has a cell phone.
No, I met somebody the other day who didn't have one. And we high-fived each other. Yeah.
All right. So there's 4
I'm drawing a line. I've actually drawn a line of sorts. I'm not holding myself up as, the Messiah or anything, but I'm drawing a line. Yes.
4 or 5 of you out there who don't have cell phones.
Yeah. And we'd love to get together, but we don't know who we are.
You can't contact each other.
There is no Facebook group for us. Yeah. Shame.
But I mean, there's people, like I said...
Well, maybe. I think I know where you're heading, that I'm assuming you're heading in this direction of, your election that's occurring in a few months, maybe it'll piss off so many people that it might cause some sort of pushback, Am I right in saying that's where you think that's an angle?
I do think that's a possibility, but I also
Yes.
I kind of agree with you in that we are not the masses of we're not concerned about as concerned as we could be, and we're not making as big a push in the right direction. Which, if you're right,
Sure.
in that it's just money being thrown
Yeah.
places, it wouldn't matter anyway.
Yes,
because we all don't have the money.
Historically, the thing that makes people get angry, there are various things, obviously, but the most sort of historically probably concrete one is deprivation. Is not having things. It's not having food or X or Y or Z or whatever thing. And generally in our Western societies, we're generally pretty comfortable, or we have the illusion of being comfortable. So my feeling is you'll get nothing that looks like a revolution until the comfort or the illusion of comfort collapses. So as long I think as long as the mysterious forces in our society can keep juggling these weird balls that make it look like the economy kind of works when actually it's just a fraud, and people have sort of got some aspirations and some comfort or whatever, some things that entertain them, or food on their tables or whatever, blah 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 blah. These balls are sort of being juggled in this sort of illusion. If those balls drop, it's going to change overnight, And I think that's why they keep pumping up these ridiculous things like, the stock market and these things, which don't make any sense. They're completely disconnected from the real world. But if you keep juggling these things, there'll be a small percentage of people who will make a lot of money, do very well, all that sort of stuff, and there'll be this illusion for everyone else that the thing functions, But if that thing falls out, that's why I think that they keep propping up the stock market and all these things. I'm sure they pump piles and piles of fake, non-existent money and all that stuff into those things to keep that illusion going. It's all illusions. Honestly, I think the whole thing's black magic. I do. You can call me crazy, you can run me off to the mental asylum, go for it. I actually think the whole thing verges on black magic.
There are times, historically, and even recently, where we as
have I entered the Twilight Zone?
No, we're good.
Oh.
We're good. Things look the same. I feel all right. But
Okay.
Yeah. I've fallen in as well. Like 2007, 2008, the housing crash and
Yeah.
things like that. I mean, so there are times when the common people lose things. That lots of people lost their homes and things like that. But there wasn't a huge backlash, or there kind of was, but the banks got,
Sure. I reckon, this is just my theory, I reckon that's where the entertainment industry comes in. Because you have this huge conglomerate that's pumping out crap. It's basically absolute crap. to give people this illusion of this sort of prosperity and this fullness of their lives and activity or distraction or whatever.
When a new iPhone comes out or something.
All these things, it's all there. I have a theory about Hollywood. My theory is that Hollywood cannot make money. There's no way that their bullshit can make money. They spend so much money on that crap, and it's fucking awful. Most of it's absolutely unwatchable bullshit. And it can't possibly actually make money. It doesn't make... You look at the numbers, it doesn't make any sense. I reckon that the whole thing is propped up with all sorts of black money just as part of this whole system to hoodwink people into this delusion that there is some sort of fullness, some sort of function to our lives. And I think there's all these things there to delude us and stop people going, oh, this is actually bullshit and we've had enough. So yeah, sure, when the housing market crashes and the stock market falters and people lose their jobs and they lose their incomes, why aren't there mass riots on the streets? I don't, because they have this illusion of this sort of electronically transmitted prosperity of something. I don't know. It's a question though, isn't it?
It is.
Why didn't people just go enough of this crap? They probably should have. Yeah.
You spoke of deprivation, and possibly something that could rally people around the system and the empire. In Australia, the gun situation, where years ago, was it the 90s? The
Port Arthur, you're talking about?
Yeah. But people didn't backlash, there wasn't a backlash against that like there would be here, I think.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that's
Australia,
different?
well, I can tell you exactly why.
There's a bunch of, outlaws traditionally in Australia, you know what I mean? That kind of mentality.
There's a romantic notion of Australia as this, island, continent, nation of these Ned Kelly outlaws, blah, 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 blah.
You're not like that?
And then there's the reality, and it's a nation of sheep. And I'm not talking about animals. I'm talking about the people. Now, Australia's completely asleep. It's like an incredibly docile place, When we come to the States, or when I talk to people from the States, often people say, oh, it's so weird, you write all this snog music about America, but you don't live in America, And well, there's a couple of responses to that. Well, actually, we're on a globe, but the truth is, actually, I'm often writing about Australia. And, Australia is an incredibly docile place. Like, it's politically and philosophically and culturally and artistically and spiritually, it's a black hole, to be honest with you. But I do choose to live there. I have the opportunity to live in other places, but I do choose to live there. It is my home. But I feel like I have to be realistic about its shortcomings.
Okay. Why do you think there wasn't as big of... Oh, because everyone is...
They're asleep.
They're okay with it.
For God's sakes, you could light their asses on fire and they would not notice. Yeah.
Okay. So, all of these things, the election and Russia and the Ukraine, and is this... the people in charge of all of this, or the people who can control all of this, is it just to keep the systems going? Is it to keep the prisons going and to keep wars going and to keep funding these huge things? Like there's a big issue in the U.S. now with the prison systems where they're,
sure.
The prisoners are working for nothing, in some states, and this forced labor and stuff. Is it just to keep the prison systems going and to keep money funneling in there?
Look, it's an interesting question. It's a question I ponder sometimes. I don't have a wholly convincing, complete answer to that. Why do this? Why maintain this thing? Yeah, absolutely. A friend of mine would say it's a sort of a mass. It's a mass pathology. It's a mass kind of psychopathic consciousness that we have happening. I don't have a definitive answer to that. Why choose these things? Because there are choices involved in all these things. Why do those? I guess part of, actually, one of my theories, and I'm about to enter the twilight zone here again, and I apologise for that, but one of my theories is, because humans seem so great in some ways, but then so incredibly dysfunctional in other ways, and we seem to despoil our planet and our environment so kind of violently, and we seem to be so violent towards each other as well. And one of my theories, and I am about to enter the twilight zone here, is that we're an introduced species, because we don't really behave like this is our home. We kind of ruin the place, and it's beautiful. We've just come through your Rocky Mountains, and they're sensational. They're incredible, Why would we want to despoil this beautiful place that we have? And I wonder if we're some sort of introduced species, if perhaps part of humanity's historic and genetic makeup is we're some hybrid of some Earth life form and some other life form from somewhere else, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not really a UFO kind of guy, I think that's all sort of fun, that sort of stuff, but I'm not really that down with it. But I do ponder, did Mars blow itself up and some survivors came here and bred with the locals, and so we're this weird hybrid? Look, I'm telling you, I'm in the twilight zone here, I know. But there are all these unanswered questions about all this stuff. I feel like our history is far more convoluted and esoteric than we're told it is.
So what was it that was here before we were introduced to the...
Well, look, I have no concrete answer to that, but...
It's a work in progress.
Some sort of other... look, I've bumped into all sorts of really... exotic theories about these things. I don't know, but there's something funny going on. Yeah, something doesn't make sense.
Okay. I don't know that I have anything else. Do you have anything?
Sorry, I've driven you over the edge,
not
haven't I?
at all. I'm a void right now. So
oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
Do you have anything pressing on your mind that you
no,
wanted to get off your chest?
No, except to apologise if I went too deeply into the twilight zone.
This is exactly what I was hoping for.
Those are the recesses of my thought processes.
You don't know how much more I appreciate this than just, what advice would you have for aspiring young musicians, or you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Right? I mean, this is so much better than that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Well, sorry.
I guess that's it.
Okay.
But,
yeah. Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh,
this has
thank
been
you.
really wonderful.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
right.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.